Aye, shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. We're still in Cebu, and it's about to. The heavens are about to have opened down upon us. We're about to get a storm. I think this witch's curse is still. I'm still dog sick, so this might not be my best interview. But
we'll do our best.
I'm happy enough to have a sit down here with my new friend Will, who is the owner of this glorious establishment that we're staying at the moment, which will very shortly be closing. But
well,
that's all. Anyway, right. Hello, Will.
Hello.
Thanks for sitting down and having a little chat with me.
Yeah, no problem, man.
We're in Cebu. You're the owner of
Magroon's
Sports Bar or Resto Bar. What's it called? What's its title?
Resto Bar and Guest House.
Resto Bar and Guest House. That's a very grand title for a very grand place.
Well, I'd say it's humble. It's not grand.
Well,
you know, it's not bad. We've tried to keep it authentically honest and earnest in what we've done.
You've done a good job.
Thank you.
Where did it all start? Where are you from originally, Will?
Luton.
Luton?
Unfortunately, yeah, I'm from Luton. But we have a Premiership team now, so that's... But I'm not even a Luton fan, so I don't count. Yeah, I grew up in Luton, although I was born in Milton Keynes. My father's Scottish, my mother's half Scottish, so I always considered myself to be 3/4 Scottish, even though I don't sound remotely Scottish.
No, you do not sound remotely Scottish at all.
And I'm trying to find my English accent again because I've been here for so long that I've started to sound Irish and Australian at the same time to a lot of different people. They tell me all the time I don't sound English, not remotely English.
Mate, since I've got it from day one, I don't think anyone's picked me as being English. They come up to me and they say in every bar, like, I can't tell, are you Australian or are you New Zealand?
You're clearly a Cockney, mate.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I always thought
I'm
so.
a Mockney. I'm from Mockney land, you know? Well, anyway, yeah, so I guess you want me to tell the story, eh? So,
yeah, life story, yeah.
Well, I mean, I was born the son of a jazz musician and a very capable medical secretary, or just all-purpose secretary who found herself in medicine. I was raised as the only child in a house full of love and good values and such lovely things like that.
Nice.
Me and my mum used to fight all the time, you know, but me and Dad, we were little mates, you know, although I've come to realise she was right about most of the things that she was fighting with Dad about. But I bounced from job to job, weird sort of different careers, completely different. I started off working as a hospital porter. I was pushing dead bodies around when I was 18, half stoned most of the time. You know, and then I was at various different shops. I worked in the hospital cafe after the first time I went to university and quit because I was getting taught nothing but Marxism. I got increasingly tired of lots of things, really. I worked in blockbusters for a while, which was great because I was going to film school at the time, or media production school, I suppose is the right term. Either way, by the time I hit the age of 31, I was working in an estate agent's call centre for a national estate agent or group of estate agents that I won't name, but they're arseholes. And I assume I can swear. And I was miserable, absolutely bloody miserable. I'd had depression before and got through it. And
What sort of age are we at now?
I'm 31.
No, I mean
I'm 38.
No, sorry, no, you were 31 then, right? Okay, right.
I was 31 when I landed on Cebu for the first time.
Okay, right.
I was only a week away from, or 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from being 32. But yeah, so, and I'm halfway to 39 now, so that's how long I've been. 6.5, 6 3/4 years. Whatever.
So you're working as an estate agent or a estate agent
miserable.
call centre, and you're miserable, yeah?
It was miserable, man. I mean, everyone was a twat. Everyone was a real like piece of work. Like, there were a few people I really liked. There was a girl I really liked who was, you know, quietly quite into me too, but no one would have known. You know, I was a nerd. I was a geek. I grew up on video games and stuff like that, and you know, so I never quite fit in. I was raised on jazz music rather than pop music, so I didn't quite fit in there either. I was always a bit of an outcast, but quite popular too, class clown, that kind of thing. You know, anyway, to cut a long story short, sitting in an office on a hot Saturday afternoon in a suit that you don't even want to be wearing, and don't need to be because there's no bloody managers there because they've got the day off. And a mate of mine, and I'm calling people all over the country, trying to convince them to sell their houses in a shit market. Sorry, swearing again.
No, swear away, mate. We don't fucking care on this channel.
Okay, cool. Well, fuck it then. Right. You know, I'm lying to people for a living. I fucking hated it. I hated it. It made me feel dirty. And they were snakes, every one of them in the management. They were awful. There was only one guy that I really liked, and he'd already gone. Regardless, I'm sitting there. I'm wearing a tie. I don't even know why. And then my mate texts me. I was in a band when I was 18. I'm a classically trained piano player.
Right.
The son of a jazz musician. Makes sense, right? So, trying to keep this short for you.
No, Cam, we've got all the time.
So basically, the guy that I was in a band with when I was 18, he texted me. I had to use my phone under my desk, you know, that kind of place. And he asked me, and I mean, like, word for word, he said, do you fancy binning your life and coming to the Philippines to join my band? And he'd offered me a few gigs over the years. He'd gone off and explored. He was living in Qatar at the time. And I'd never really gone anywhere. And every now and then he would offer me a gig in Greece or wherever. He had a bar there or something like that, you know. And I always said no, you know. I was always like, oh, well, no, I've got a family. I'm the only child, you know. I've got a mum and a dad, and I don't want to leave them, and blah, blah, blah. But I guess by the time I got to that point, I just got so damn tired of everything in the UK. Just never, ever succeeding, no matter how well you do.
Yeah.
That, and there's my bloody cat meowing at me.
We got cats, we got crickets, we got everything. Don't worry about it, mate.
It's all good. I sort of laughed, and I turned to the guy sitting next to me, who also happened to be a bass player, and I said, oh, my mate wants me to bin my life and go to the Philippines, you know. And he looked at me dead in the eyes and he said, do it. Fucking do it. And I was like, you what? He's like, do you have any idea how much I wish someone would give me a way out of this bloody shithole? And I was like, you're joking, right? Like, that's fucking ridiculous. He's like, no, I'm serious. Get out of here. Go. What the hell are you doing here? So I thought about it, you know, for 10 minutes or so. I text my friend back. I said, okay, I guess I'm interested. I'm not convinced yet, but I'm interested. I'll be in the pub in an hour. Give me a call. Called me from Qatar with an American fella that is still very active in music. You can actually find him on YouTube and Facebook. He calls himself Jamie O.
Right.
He's a good lad, very talented. Anyway, I thought I'd just do a shout out there because he's a good boy. And they convinced me. You know, I said everything. I was like, well, I've got a job. Quit your job. You hate your job, obviously, or you wouldn't be talking to us. You know, okay. Oh, I can't afford a plane ticket. I'll buy you a plane ticket. Okay. Well, I mean, there's a girl I like. Yeah, but she's not dating you. Just told me you don't. You know, it's not happening, is it? Like, you know. Oh, what about my family? They'll understand. What about all my stuff? Sell it. So I did. 3 weeks later, I landed in Cebu.
You took the leap, you landed in Cebu.
I can't believe I did it. To this day, I still can't believe I bloody did it.
And that's about 8 years ago, is it? If you were 31.
No, it's coming up to 7.
7 years, right?
May 9th, 2017 is the day I landed. And immediately I was happier, actually. I just felt like I'd got away. You know, I wasn't making any money. The band made jack shit. But
so what were you doing? Work it like playing in local bars and restaurants,
just the same as you'd see a Filipino band doing it. You know?
How does that work with their work permits and that then?
No one cared. No one ever asked. Didn't know they existed.
So you couldn't really do it, but it didn't matter.
They were all foreigners who owned the bars anyway. They were like, hey, we want to give you a gig. All right, cool. How much? A couple of thousand, you know.
No, but that's interesting because in Thailand, where I lived before, like you couldn't do that. They were really hot on it. They didn't mind the people in the bars, you know, like thing. But bands, if you weren't, they'd be straight on you. Right. So that's not the same over here.
No, not at all. No, they don't care about it here. They'll pay anyone to do anything off the books. Completely. I mean, that's 90% of all business here. I'm sure it doesn't have a permit.
Yeah. No, but that's interesting. That's interesting.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So how long did you do that for?
Not very long. I think by September of that year, the band had broken up. Guitarist had had enough. Said he wanted to do his own thing. And
how many albums had you done by then?
Fucking none. No, it was a joke. We had a good time. We had a really good time. But the problem with the band was, my friend who had invited me, he wanted to make money. He wanted to be famous. He wanted to, you know, record albums and stuff. And the guitarist, he wanted to bum around, be kind of like a hippie guitarist, you know.
Right.
And I just wanted to play music and have a laugh and bum around and have a laugh. You know? That was all I cared about.
Who doesn't?
Drink and be a musician, because I knew what a musician was, because my father was one, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the other two were taking it a bit too seriously, but then they would say I wasn't taking it anywhere near seriously enough.
Right.
So we came to disagreements a couple of times, but ultimately the guitarist just walked away. At that point, that was probably the biggest sort of crucible. Well, no, the second biggest crucible I went through while I've been here, which was, what the fuck am I doing? How am I going to survive? I'm 7,000 miles from my home.
Yeah.
My parents have only got so much that they could possibly use to bail me out. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I had made some friends through the band who liked the band. One of them was a German mate of mine. He's a good lad. And he was working at an English school based in IT Park at the time. And
That's in Cebu City, is it?
yeah, all of this is in Cebu City, yeah. And he said, like, hey, would you like to get a job? I think my English is quite high. My level of English, the level of English that I'm capable of using is higher than most, even English people, because my mum was a medical secretary and I studied at A-level, and I've always just been a big fan of language in general, the rules, the way it works and stuff like that. So I ended up getting a job as the expert linguistic advisor and curriculum editor of this school for quite a while, about 9 months or so, until I got made redundant. And
just out of interest with that then, because I know a lot of expats teach English. I taught English in China for a while. Most places I mean, you were teaching legally, presumably.
I wasn't teaching the students, I was teaching the teachers.
What I'm getting at is
most of my time I was sat at a desk.
In some countries, you need to have a degree to be able to teach English legally. Is it the same here, or?
I think you need to have a degree to be a teacher. Again, it's the Philippines. There are ways around everything. If you know someone and they know someone, and you know, it was okay. But I was also going through a bit of a calamity in my life at that point, because I had a girlfriend who had really messed me up. Like she got pregnant with my kid and quietly made sure it didn't happen, and I saw the whole thing right in front of me, honestly. And that was about the time I realised just how psychotic and nightmarish the women here can be.
Really?
Yeah, I have a tattoo on my chest. It's the only tattoo I've got, and it's for that. And I mean, happy ending. I have a girlfriend who's pregnant right now, so that's lovely.
So what's the tattoo saying?
It's just a couple of angel wings and a halo around nothing, because I never got to meet the kid, you know.
Okay.
I really wanted the kid. I was very proud. I've always wanted to be a father. I love my dad so much, you know, he's my best friend, and so I've always wanted to kind of emulate that, you know, be a father.
Well, you will be soon, you will be soon.
I will be. There's no topping that now.
So did you do much dating in Philippines when you first got here?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I messed around a fair bit. In between the two, I played around. I had way more than my share. Let's just say that.
I'm gonna hazard a guess here, and I'm not saying anything, you know, about your looks or anything like that. But I bet you found it a bit easier here than you did in the UK.
It was really, really ridiculously easy here. Like, I couldn't believe. My mate said he picked me up at the airport, and he said it's like fishing with dynamite. I was like, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. I'm a good enough looking guy, I guess. I did okay in the UK. I'm not really here for that. And but no guy's gonna say no when it's thrown in their face, you know. And it was thrown in my face, like non-stop,
so
every day.
How would you say Filipino women differ from Western women then?
Well, Western women are much harder, much more complicated, and I think that's got a lot to do with the culture. And you know how I feel about a lot of this stuff, because we had a conversation about politics earlier yesterday. Filipino women are much more like what a man would look for in a woman. They're much better wife material. They are much more likely to accept a diminutive domestic role as mother and caregiver and wife, housewife even.
Well, I'll just stop you there for 1 second.
Go on.
I don't think it's accept. I think it's a lot of them aspire to that. It's like in Thailand. It's not they're accepting it. It's what they actually want to do.
Catholic country, so it makes sense, yeah. They are, on the other hand, absolute psychos. They are
jealousy,
mental. They are the craziest women you'll ever meet in your life. Well, I've ever met in my life anyway. I don't know what Thailand or any of those places are like. I've never been there. I came straight here and I stayed here. But yeah, no, they're insane. They're batshit crazy. The women here, they're well-meaning, and if you can convince one that you're not a dickhead and you're not cheating on her and you're not gonna screw around, then she'll love you forever. She'll eventually come round and you'll have a mate for life, no doubt. And it will probably be better than you could ever get in the West, where, you know, feminism rules everything and men have to be the weaker sex now, which is completely insane. But no, they really do aspire to loving a good man and cooking, cleaning. Nothing's off the table. They love you. They will love you even if you're 50 years older than them, which we've discussed before. Was quite startling to me.
We'll discuss it again in a minute.
Yeah,
but I'll say one thing, just my little input on this, because I have travelled a lot around Asia.
Yeah, sure, man.
It's an Asian thing, because in Thailand they're Buddhists, but they are virtually the same. I mean, I've only been here 5 months, but the women have a very, very similar outlook on life.
Right.
You know, it's the Asian thing. If you're what they class as a good man, and you're a responsible man, and you're willing to, you know, help the family if necessary and that kind of thing. You know,
that's the key.
Yeah, it's interesting how the Catholicism or the Christianity, it's Asia, regardless of the religion. It's just the Asia way. I think I found it in Cambodia. I found it
very
in
traditional.
Thailand.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Actually, I'm not a conservative per se. I'm a libertarian, but I think that there's an awful lot that the West is forgetting right now.
Yeah, no,
about how people should be.
I agree.
What is common sense, and most of the time you'll find. My girlfriend that I have now, who I love very much, and I'm very shortly probably going to propose to.
You're lucky no one watches my channel, mate. Otherwise, a secret might come out.
She already knows.
Okay,
we've discussed it actually at quite length, because I don't want to give her any nasty surprises, you know. No, she tested me. She tested me more than anybody has ever tested me in my entire life. She would not put up with any of my crap, any of my inherited Western beta metrosexual crap that I kind of came here with. Nah, she's like, I want a man. I want a bloody man to make decisions and act on them. And I'll support them if I think they're right. And I said, okay, so what you're telling me is you want a random decision-making machine that you can blame for any negative outcome. She's like, yes. It's like, oh, so that's what a man is. You know, so there you go. And since I did kind of man up, you know, eventually, I've found that I've never been happier in my entire life. You know.
Well, that's interesting then. I mean, we'll go back in a minute to what we were talking about, because obviously we got to jump from you teaching it, well, working in university to.
It's a long story.
What do you think about the old age gap relationships over here?
Yeah, so at first they were a bit jarring. You know, I'm 31 years old and I'm watching 70-year-old guys with 19-year-old girls, and I think that's a bit odd, isn't it? That's bloody hell. You'd be crucified for that in the UK. You know, it's fine if an old woman wants to date a young man, but if it's the other way around, you're getting murdered for political incorrectness. You know, and you know, and you kind of wonder quietly to yourself, if you've got a bit of taste and you don't. You're not a gobby wanker, you know, that you think, well, what the hell's in it? What the hell's in it for her? What the hell's in it, you know? But then apparently...
Well, we know what's in it for her, but...
We know what's in it for him, and we know what's in it for her, but I would not want it to be that cynical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she's in it for the cash, she's in it for the pussy, right? And or the back rubs, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But
that doesn't mean it can't work.
Well, that's the thing I discovered, you know, because again, I didn't want to offend anybody, but whenever someone would bring it up, I would ask quiet little questions, mostly to the girls, because that was the part I had the biggest confusion about. Like, what, really? Like, I mean, I'm not interested. You know, yeah, you're hot, whatever, but I don't care. There's millions out there, you know. And but why this guy? You know, he's kind of he's past it. You know, like, I hate to say it. It's a terrible thing to say. But, you know, that's your stupid bias that you bring with you into the country. And they would always tell me, like, well, the man, like, he protects my family. He's made my life incredibly good. Like, nothing is the same as it was before. I have the potential to get anything I want, you know, and not in a horrible, spoiled, bratish way, in a very grateful
it's
way.
the same as feathering the nest in the UK. You know,
Yeah.
if I was unemployed, looking the way I do, I'm not going to be successful looking the way I am if I've got a sports car and a couple of £1 million in the bank. I mean, that is the reality.
That's
it's
life.
Just more,
It's like if you were to watch the old video that's on YouTube. It's called the Hot Crazy Matrix, and the guy describes the various levels of hotness and craziness that women have for like 10 minutes. A brilliant video. I guarantee you will have a great time if you check it out, anyone watching this. At the very end of the long version, he does the male version of it, which is the cute money matrix, and there are only 3 sections, and the no-go zone is the biggest by far. Then there's the hotness, which is the party zone, and right at the end there's the money, where it no longer matters how hot you are as long as you've got enough money. And again, that sounds cynical, but it's also bloody true.
And of course, just look at Donald Trump. Anyway,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, I did a video the other day. I've not uploaded it yet because someone was saying, like, you know, these relationships aren't real, and you know, that if you want a real relationship, you can't come here. Well, I say, what's the definition of real? I did a bit of googling.
Well, that's the
60% of the marriages in the world are arranged marriages.
Yeah.
When I lived in Leicester, you'll experience it in Luton. 55% of Leicester are Asians. I had 4 or 5 really good friends. They were second generation Indian, grown up in the UK. They had arranged marriages, and they were happy as Larry. Yeah. This idea that you have to fall in love at first sight is a Western thing, and it accounts for probably 20% of the marriages in the world.
It probably causes more complication than anything as well, because at least in an arranged marriage, people know why they're bloody there.
Well, that's it. If you fall in love because it's somewhat love at first sight, the second you fall out of love, the marriage goes south.
Yeah.
If you went in with it with different intentions and then fell in love, I think it's a lot more likely to last. But there you go.
I'm sure there's definitely an argument for that, yeah. And the thing that I would say again is that these women, the young girls, even though they were bizarrely young and the guys are bizarrely old, and it might be a bit of a boat rocker for you as a newbie here, not you personally, but you, the person watching this, if you're a newbie in the Philippines, you might be a bit jarred by that, but they aren't joking at all. They are dead serious. They love this guy because he's guaranteed that their whole family will be okay. And they don't say it in any kind of cynical way. They really are like, I love it. I love this guy.
Yeah. I mean, I
was convinced. I couldn't believe it.
We won't spend too much longer. I'd say I did a video.
Cool. It's a long video.
No, I'm just going to get my bit out, and then we'll go back to your life because it's important. Because I've done this on our Thai videos.
Sure.
Trying to explain to people that if you're a Thai girl, particularly if you're the youngest in the family, because the pressure falls on the youngest, their whole life they have been taught that their number one priority is their family. And if they can find a man who will look after the family, you are the answer to their dreams.
That's it, yeah. That's
so when they met you, they will love you to heaven because you are what they've always dreamt of finding. Someone who's respectful to them, someone who'll give it, you know, it's the answer to their dreams. If you start coming over with this bullshit, well, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, and why should, then you're going to break the contract. You keep the contract, you'll have a marriage forever.
Happy wife,
you
happy
think
life,
you're going to change things, then you're going to get divorced, you're going to lose the property, you know. Go into it with your eyes open. It's not, you know, it's not rocket science. Anyway.
It's not. You're right. It's fucking simple, right? Like, you know what you want, you know what she wants.
And you know you can keep it.
Then you can keep it forever if you can provide it.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that. And I mean, it's not so different from a Disney romance that lasts long enough. It's more or less turns into the same thing eventually anyway, just with a bit of a closer age gap.
Exactly. Right, so you finished in the old English stuff. They made you redundant. What happened next?
Well, yeah. So I mean, part of the reason they made me redundant was that I was sort of starting to flap a bit in my professionalism, so I can't really fault them for that. Well,
at least they didn't sack you. I mean, redundancy is quite a good way to get out of it. Yeah.
Well, I got nothing for it. But anyway, the point is, I then was in like the real crucible. Like now I've got nothing and no one can help me. No one's got a bloody clue how I'm going to survive or do this. And then I bumped into a mate of mine who used to be a beatboxer. He used to jam with me in the bar where my band had played. And like, they had a piano. My piano was there all the time anyway because I just left it there because I didn't care. Well, I cared, but I mean, I couldn't be bothered to drag it home and drag it back. So we used to jam a bit, and then he came up to me and he said, "Oh, there's this app you can teach English to Chinese kids," and that was Palfish, which was at the time was quite a good deal. The deal got worse and worse over like the 2 years that I was doing that, during which COVID and the lockdowns happened. But it was enough to keep me going. You know, I made just about enough that I could pay my rent, and I had another.
And how much is that to keep you going over here?
Oh, not much at all compared to the UK. I was living in a studio at the time, which was about 15,000 a month, and it was not a wanky little studio. It was a nice studio. It was about 25 square meters, which is not huge, but enough space that you can really turn it into anything you want. It was clean. It was well maintained. The staff were.
Okay, so taking the accommodation out of it, was $1,000 a month enough to live over here?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
100%, yeah. You can live on basically minimum wage in the West here, and you can live reasonably well. A little bit more than that, you can live like a king. It's crazy. But that's it, yeah. So I was living like that, you know, and that was that job, plus a little thing I had where I was editing articles for an international shipping newsletter. That I got for a mate. Again, everything comes through mates here, you know, that's how it is. You make friends when you get it. Make friends. If you're an arsehole and the foreigners don't like you, you will not last here. You must make friends, and you must learn the difference between the charlatans and the people who are really actually living their lives and trying to do good, because that will make all the bloody difference in your life here. You'll have friends and allies, and I'm not just talking about other foreigners. I mean, make friends with some Filipinos too. Most of them hate us, but, you know, and I understand why. But if you can get a few good people from all of them, all those groups on side, you're going to have a lovely life. If you have no friends and you are Jack the Lad and you think, oh, I'm here. I mean, I met an American guy, came into Howling Dogs in Cebu City once, and he was, every fucking thing he said was about his dick. Everything. He's like, I've got a lot of money and I've got a big dick. And it was like, you're not going to be here for very long. You're not. Because someone's going to kill you, or you're not going to have any friends, and you'll have no one to protect you if somebody decides they want to kill you. Which is also a very realistic possibility living here in the Philippines, where people hate you if you act like that. And deservedly so. I've lost my train of thought now. I was living in a flat. So I worked for the English school for quite a long time. I made friends with people in bars before the lockdowns, when bars were still a thing, you know. And we would keep in touch, you know, Messenger and all that rubbish. And eventually one of them was saying to me, well, I was thinking about starting a BPO and I need some help. So I thought, okay, we'll start a BPO. Unfortunately, it was also... there are a lot of reasons why it ultimately...
Explain what a BPO is for anyone.
Oh, that's business process outsourcing. That's call center. Except we were doing software devs, not phone agents, which was a bit more involved. Probably wouldn't recommend it as a first BPO to any other foreigners thinking of doing it, because there's a lot of stuff you need to know, and it really doesn't help if you don't know jack shit about the product that you're selling. Like, I am not a programmer. I've never been a programmer. I know nothing about coding. Everything I know about coding I learned from the people I was employing to do it. I don't know shit, and that is not a wise decision. But we did our best. We had a good idea. Both of us ended up resigning, sorry. Kind of in protest, because we didn't like the way it was going with our other partners. Who are still friends of mine, but that was the way it went. And that is, again, something that can happen when you jump into something in the Philippines. You know, you make sure you know people, you trust them and stuff like that. After that, I had already basically told my family to get over here, get out of the West, because as far as I'm concerned, the West is eating itself right now and falling to pieces. And you got to have a contingency plan, and I was the contingency plan for my parents, which was lovely. So I got my parents over here. At that point I was just writing freelance articles.
How old were they when they come over then?
75 and 80, mum and dad.
It's a big leap of faith for them to come over like at that age, and I mean, it's not like that.
They said I was man enough to do it, blind so they can do it as well.
And they didn't come here for holiday first or anything, they just came
Nothing.
through?
Straight on the plane, straight here, immediately. Same as me. Totally
Wow.
blind. Weird, I know. We're not like normal people. We're a weird family. And I love that. I think actually only kind of weird people can really get on here. I think if you're too much of a normie, you won't fit in. You know, you need to
You got to be flexible about that.
Yeah. I don't think most people who are still in the Matrix can't comprehend why you would ever come here and actually make a go of it. To people like us, you know, it makes perfect sense.
So what did they do then when they got here? What was...
Nothing. They just, I got them a flat and they sat around, and unfortunately my mother passed away. But she had reasons for that, and they were already existing before she got here. But she didn't try to stop them, so that sucks. But we did our best. The reason we ended up coming in here to Mobile and opening this place.
and how long ago was it you came to Mobile?
About a year.
A year, right.
Coming up for a year. I'm not quite sure. It's February-ish to 2022. 2023 rather. And yeah, Mum had been gone for a few months, and Dad was miserable. You know, he was in a flat that smelled like her. And
How long were they married for?
40 years.
That must be devastating. That's a long time.
Yeah, long enough that, yeah, no, almost 40 years. Yeah. Actually got a nice little video of them dancing around in the flat on the 1st of July 2023, and that was, I've still got it. I've not shown it to Dad yet, but because I think it would break his heart, but it was lovely, you know, it was a nice night. And we miss Mum every day, you know, of course, and now I've kind of come full circle, you know, from being the little boy who ran away, who was 31 but still basically 21 in terms of like emotional maturity. I'm now the leader of a new family, and Dad's made up for me, of course, and I'm taking it all in my stride, and I'm doing it here in this crazy ass place, and I couldn't possibly be happier if I dared to dream.
Well, that's nice. I mean, that is a wonderful thing to hear.
Yeah.
So how did you? So you came to Mobile with it because of this place, or you decided to get this place after going to Mobile?
My girlfriend had an idea that we might like to run a bar because we're both big
This
drinkers.
is the girlfriend you're with now?
Yeah. We've been together for 5+ years.
Oh, a long time.
A little bit on and off at the start, but we got more and more serious as the lockdowns came, and then we just sort of actually bonded. You know?
She's from Cebu, is she?
Yeah, she's from actually not that far from here, but she lived in the city. I met her.
I've been to Cebu, yeah, sorry.
No, I mean she was actually not like she was from this part of the island.
Okay, got it.
But not quite Mobile. But anyway, she was, you know, and she's wonderful. Like I said, she's tested me, she's challenged me. She's not your average Filipino in that she's just, you know, looking to be somebody's wife. I had to fucking earn it. Like, you know, like it wasn't that different from dating a Western woman actually. And she makes me better, and that's the thing that matters the most to me, is that she's made me a better man.
Well, that's all anyone can hope for, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's about as close approximation I can come up with to true love, right? Like, she makes me a better person, you know, and I know it, I can feel it. Anyway, she was the one who came up with the idea of coming here, and there's not really any reason that this place shouldn't work. It's a nice place. There's a lot of people who will eventually discover that it's a nice place. It's just that we're
talking about the bar or the area?
The bar.
Okay, so you came to Mobile, you found this bar. How long did you run it for?
Almost a year.
A year?
We opened in the middle of March 2023, and we'll probably close around about the same time.
So you've had a year at it. When you bought it, presumably it was still open and it was functioning. Well, when you leased it,
Rented it, we leased it.
But it was a going concern when you leased it. You didn't have to restart from scratch.
Well, that's actually, yeah, no. So basically the structures were here. The buildings, there was nothing in them at all. Not even light bulbs, not even windows in the house.
Right, okay.
We had to do all of that. And that's why if I'm leaving, I'm saying like, well, you discount this much from what I owe because I've done this much work, you know.
That's fair enough.
We extended the roof to stop rain from coming in. We installed all the air cons, even the toilets, everything. We bought it all ourselves. So it's all our stuff just in their place, and they're quite nice people. I think they have some pretty outlandish ideas about what the value of the place is, but get used to that if you're thinking of doing
Well,
what I've done.
that's useful to know.
The Filipinos will always wildly overestimate the value of their property. Always. This place is probably worth about 8 mil at most. They wanted 20. And now the new people are coming in, they want to take over. They're asking for 25. And they want 110,000 a month on rent. Absurd. Sorry guys if you watch this, but you're mental. You're not going to get that ever from anyone. But that's the way it is. Of course everyone gets overcharged in the Philippines. There's skin tax, you know.
But I've seen the old Google reviews and the old menus and that, because when we looked online, like, it looked like an amazing place.
Yeah.
So
By the time you got here,
obviously we've come as it's closed, and the bar and the restaurant, that's all gone, which is like obviously sad for you. Well, sadder for you, but sad for us as well.
some new owners might be able to come and pick it back up. And they're
But what went wrong then? I mean, what was the problem?
Location. 100% location. We are 900 meters away from Panagsama, which is the place that has gone in 4 years from one cafe to 50 bars, you know.
So saturation.
Everything's down there. Everything's down there. And when we came here, we were told this place used to have a lot of customers. We showed a lot of photos of a lot of customers here. We heard a little bit about the backstory of the previous owners who built the place. Turned out it was an Australian fella who ditched his missus because she was giving out free drinks and free pussy. And so he split without any notice, left her here. She had all the debt, so she split, and then she and a team of fellas from her family, I suppose, would come in and quietly gut the place.
So I'm a bit intrigued by this, because I have never owned a business in Asia.
Right.
But I had a few businesses in the UK. I've had quite a few businesses in my lifetime, but I knocked that on the head. I sold up to come abroad. But you're talking about photos. I mean,
I saw some photos.
Presumably, you went through the books and the takings.
Well, no, I mean, it was a completely different enterprise. We named the place. It was a derelict, basically, like when we got here. You know?
So it was a new start. So you called it Magoo's and everything
That's
else.
My
So there was no takings to look at. There was no projections or anything like that.
Nothing like that at all. The place, like I said, the girl would come in with her family. They just rooted the place and vanished. They even stole the CCTV.
Right, okay, that's fair enough.
Okay, so that was how it had been left. And when we got here, the owners were living in one of the guest rooms. I guess either unwilling or unable to fix the place up, and we decided we would, because we liked it. We thought this had amazing potential. What we didn't realise was that all of the bars in Panagsama opened after COVID, and the place and the photos we were looking at were from before COVID, when this was one of the only games in town.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard that a few places things have changed.
So unfortunately, that's something advice-wise I'd absolutely tell any foreigner who's thinking, don't be a dickhead, don't be an idiot like me. You got to look around the area, take some time, I was in a hurry. I was trying to get my dad out of a bad situation with my mum having passed away, and he was stuck in that flat, you know.
Well, you've probably made a few mistakes, but to be fair, what you're saying to me, it's not necessarily a mistake, because I mean, I'm very friendly. I've done videos before. I'm great friends with the owners of a place called the Rum Bar in Sick Hills, where I do most of my interviews.
Right.
And they opened the Rum Bar just before COVID.
I've heard of it.
And the reason they opened the Rum Bar was because there were 3 bars on the island, and they knew they needed some bars. There's 64 bars on the island now.
Yeah,
they've all opened in the last 3 years. So it's,
right there.
You know, it's a different ball game.
That's what it is.
It's a different ball game.
Well, they were keen to get the tourism back, but I would say that to tie this off, yeah, I have made a colossal amount of mistakes while I've been here. I've made unbelievable piles of mistakes. Every single one of them has taught me something. Every single one of them has made me better, made me faster, made me stronger, made me smarter, made me apply my intelligence to what it's actually trying to achieve. If you take that attitude and you're a bit humble, you'll never regret coming to the Philippines.
That's a good attitude to have anywhere in the world, mate.
I think so, yeah. But I think it, especially for me, has worked out here because you can't come in, like I've said earlier in this video, you can't come in with your arrogance and your I'm better than you, this is the third world. That attitude will get you killed here. If you're ready to learn and adapt, you'll never ever look back.
Well, I'm going to sound like an old man giving advice here, and no one should listen to my advice, but the way I look at life is we all make mistakes. The key is to learning from them. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you're a moron. If you learn from your mistakes, then, you know, it makes you stronger.
They're lessons. Yeah.
So what's next for you?
So obviously we're not sticking around here anymore. As much as I would maybe like to, I also think I'm maybe a little still too young. There's other things I could do that. But more than that, it's just that mobile is, I'd say, 5 years away from being really what it could become. For people as old as my father, who's 80, and he can't really get around by himself, he can't drive anymore. You know, the driving here is insane. And that's the whole of the Philippines, by the way, not just mobile. I want to take him back to the city where he can get taxis, or I can hire a driver.
So you're going to go back to Cebu, that's the plan, is it?
That's the plan.
Cebu City rather, not Cebu.
My missus is pregnant as well. There's better hospitals there. I don't need to do it, but I think everybody agrees we'd be happier.
Nice.
And I know most people, especially here, will tell me, no, you don't want to do that. The city's awful. It's full of traffic and garbage and horrible people. And I'm like, yeah, but I can order a pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That sounds nice. You can't do that in Sigil, I tell you.
You can't do that here either, mate. No chance in hell. No way. Even McDonald's here doesn't do breakfast.
So how long before it, really?
You can't get a sausage McMuffin to save your life in Marlborough, man.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that. I'm not really a McDonald's man, but that's interesting to know.
It's a weird one, but yeah.
Can't get rice in a McDonald's in the UK though, so it's all swings and roundabouts.
It's probably a good thing.
And that'll all be in the next couple of months, will it?
Yeah, I'm not messing around. I want to get my family into position before the baby comes.
As soon as this place is gone, you're off.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually some interested people who might even just take it over and keep the name and everything. Which would be obviously the best scenario for us. So we're happy to talk to them. If that happens, I'd be even happier because the name and the stuff I created and all the branding that I created, you know, it would endure, and that would be a nice way of honouring my mum because Magroon was her nickname. So it was all named after my mum. So I'd love that if they're up for it. Yeah, sure.
Fantastic.
And while I bugger off and do something else, I'm a YouTuber, you know, I do what I do.
Yeah, well, this is what I want to talk about next. You've got a YouTube channel.
I have.
What's it called?
It's called Will of the Fans.
Will of the Fans, and I'll put a link to that at the bottom of this video. And what's it about, mate?
So, okay. I dislike what has been happening to our entertainment for the last few years, in as much as I feel that there's a concerted effort to demoralize society through our pop culture, and this is done through forcing things like diversity, equity and inclusion. And I know that sounds like a really horrible position to take, but it's actually not. Society worked very well for thousands of years without us needing to be held by the hand and insulted constantly, basically. Because you look at movies like Star Wars, what they do to Luke Skywalker, they emasculated him, replaced him with a woman. What do they do?
Did they really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did in episode 8. It was the worst fucking Star Wars movie I've ever seen in my life, and everyone agrees. Except for the woke people, anyway. But, you know, they either race swap, they gender swap, they replace, they promote weird, unnatural ideas that should not ever really, ever happen. And they call it progressivism. And it has infected not only our entertainment just happens to be what I talk about. It's in everything. It's in the news, it's in the culture, it's in the politics, it's everywhere, and it needs to die. So I criticise the hell out of it. I criticise the way that it has ruined Star Wars, Doctor Who, Star Trek, Terminator, Lord of the Rings, all the big franchises. All of them have been acquired by these companies like Disney, who, as far as I'm concerned, are the worst company in the world. And they've cynically transformed it into a political platform to tell us that we're shit, especially if we're white, straight and male, and I don't appreciate that. So that's what I do on Will of the Fans.
Well, yeah, you've got some strong opinions on it. I can't really comment because I'm not a sci-fi guy. I saw the first Star Wars. I saw Empire Strikes Back. That's it.
Yeah, if you're a nerd watching this, come and see me. I'll make you happy.
And the last Doctor Who I watched was Tom Baker. So
he was amazing. He was awesome. Yeah.
that was a long time ago. Well, it was great. I'm sure. I don't have much of a following, but those who are watching, get yourselves over, check his channel out. I actually watched a couple of videos today, and I found it quite interesting. So yeah, Will, thanks for sitting down with us, mate. I've really enjoyed this. Appreciate your time, and best of luck in the future with whatever it is you do next in Cebu City. And congratulations on the baby. How long before that comes along?
Oh, we're about halfway at the moment.
Got to be maths now. It's 4.5 months.
Mid-June, I suppose.
Mid-June.
Same week as my birthday.
Well, best of luck with that, mate.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. Smash the like button, subscribe, and here's a new one for you. You've got to ring the bell. I've not said that in a video before, but ring the old bell, fellas.
It matters.
Apparently, well, there you go. And he's been doing it a lot longer than me. He knows what matters. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Whatever you're doing in the world, stay safe, be lucky,